Hello everybody. In the current affairs this week, the week ended 2nd of June 2024. The first and foremost, the exit poll results. The exit poll results give a resounding victory for the ruling NDA alliance. Unlike earlier, these exit polls are by and large completely unanimous. It is just the number of seats which are predicted by different exit polls is a little different. But the fact remains that insofar as the economy is concerned, the same government, the same policies and the same areas of thrust are going to remain. That is the clear indication that the markets are going to get in the coming week. Now coming to the Indian stock markets, last week is something which is going to be very different, and the coming week, as I said, on account of the exit poll, is going to be very different. Last week, the overall stock market was a little soft across large cap, Nifty 50, mid cap and small cap. The entire market was down by around 1.5%. FIIs continued to be modest sellers and DIIs continued to be buyers. But that was this week. The next week, as we all know, is going to be very different. As far as the global commodity markets are concerned, the global commodity markets were also range bound. There was a moment of just 1% plus and minus in Brent crude, gold and silver. No major movements. As far as the US markets are concerned, Nasdaq was down by more than 1% and S&P 500 was down by 0.5%. But one trend which we could see in the US 10-year yield was that slowly and steadily the interest rates, the 10-year G-Sec yield is increasing or getting hardened in the US. From 4.46, the 10-year G-Sec is 4.50. As far as the US dollar and Indian rupee equation is concerned, the Indian rupee depreciated by around 39 paisa. But that was till this week. The next week, if FIIs return to the Indian stock markets and pumping dollars in the Indian economy, then this exchange rate equation could be much different. Now, one news which was in the media this week was that 100 tons of Indian gold, the gold which is a part of India's sovereign reserve, which was in the Bank of England, which was stored rather in the Bank of England, has been shipped back to India. Now this is a simple news, but the way I looked at it and read across several articles and several things which I could come across, the understanding which I could get is that it is in one way an indication of strength of the Indian economy. The Indian economy today, the sovereign reserves are to the extent of 464 billion US dollars. Normally, this gold is kept in a foreign country like England for the reason that if a country wants to pledge gold, then the gold, if it is outside of India, it becomes more comfortable for the lender to lend to that country. Since 1991, this gold was outside India, and it was primarily for the requirement that if there is an emergency, then this gold can be used to pledge and generate foreign exchange borrowings for the country. Now, as I said, the scenario is different, and the way I read it is that we are not looking at any need for pledging our gold to borrow. That is point one. Point two, that India is now in a situation where it looks things from a very different perspective. By that, what I would mean is that foreign reserves like gold or any kind of foreign securities which are held outside might get or may be used to weaponize against a particular country. This was done in the case of Russia and Afghanistan. The foreign reserves and foreign reserve items like gold, which was held by these countries outside of their country, in countries like US and its allies, is now frozen. So India is looking at something where it is going to be a country which will move on its own strength, and it need not have its reserves outside India, but would like to have its reserves in India. Last but not the least, it saves on charges, which are the charges levied by a foreign bank when this gold is stored outside India. So in sum and substance, this speaks of the way the country is moving ahead in terms of its sovereignty and the strength of the Indian economy. Finally, I wanted to talk about the Chinese government, which has levied a fine of 1 billion yuan, that is 138 million US dollars, on Big Four auditor Price Waterhouse Cooper. PwC was the auditor for the Evergrande Group. The Evergrande Group was a major business group in China, and that group, it was found out that there were so many financial irregularities. So the Chinese government has now fined its auditors, Price Waterhouse Coopers, PwC, to the extent of a large fine. And this is something which is an indication to all the people, all the auditors who certify and vet the accounts, that they are responsible, and their vetted accounts, their audited accounts, are read and acted upon by so many investors and so many lenders. So they need to be more and more responsible while doing their fiduciary function. That is all for this week, and let us wait for the fireworks in the next week. Thank you.